Greetings, all. Well, the old grumpy gardener this morning who would like to discuss one of those borderline subjects in the U.S. Using Delta 8 THC medically. Yep. For the most part, this material is nationally legal under federal law. Okay. When they decided to allow industrial hemp products to be grown and used in the United States, no one really visualized at the time that some genius was going to figure out that there was a compound that was psychoactive in industrial hemp too. It is not quite the same as the stuff that's in the drug hemp. The drug hemp has Delta 9, which means that the double carbon group is joined at the 9th group, and in Delta 8 it's joined at the 8th group. It doesn't make a lot of difference in how this stuff works. Predominantly, the Delta 8 is in such small quantities inside the industrial hemp compared to Delta 9 in the drug hemp that nobody really considered it until they started refining out materials from the plants. And CBD became a big deal. It's in everything, including the drugstore in the corner, and at 7-Eleven. It's in your shampoo, right? Yeah, explosion of cannabinoids. But that was along the lines, somebody said, hey, this stuff's psychoactive. When that happened, there was knee-jerk across the country. And most places still follow the federal regulations. Some places like Hawaii have administrative rules. I'm not even exactly sure what that is, but Delta 8 is not illegal in Hawaii. It's just, I guess, rules about distribution on it. Yeah, so, but some states have just outright gone ahead and banned it, even though the federal government said everything from industrial hemp's okay. They're, knee-jerk. It's the old reefer madness plant fascists out there. I suppose they found out that some teenagers were buying the stuff at 7-Eleven and getting high on it, So, just to clarify that point, I have a list here of the places where Delta 8 THC is not considered legal. That's Delaware, Idaho, Montana, New York, North and South Dakota, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Okay, those are the places. Otherwise, this stuff's legal. It travels through the mail because it's federally legal. Okay, it travels on airplanes because it's federally legal. Okay, so it's still this hodgepodge, messy business with laws in cannabis. It's, frankly, from my point of view, this is one of the most ridiculous things we've ever gotten into. Anyhow, so again, now just a little bit of personal history on all this. Like a lot of Americans in the 1960s, I experienced cannabis for the first time. And, I had to admit, you get a heck of a buzz off that stuff without a hangover in the morning. So it was an excellent substitute for the alcohol that we had around. I have suspected at times that the government doesn't like it because it tends to make people rather passive and war? Who? What? Who wants to fight? Yeah. Whereas with alcohol, you wake up the next morning after a bender and you want to kill anything that's in your path. It stimulates ugliness. Well, that's probably not true, but I tend to think that way. Anyhow, so once the medical use of cannabis started to become a thing, in California when I was there, I definitely voted in favor of it because I'm not into plant fascism anyway. But the truth is, other than a few small applications, I really didn't think the stuff had much medical value. Yeah. Like most Americans, I just figured, it's a good stone, But I voted in favor of it because I knew that it was going to help people with wasting conditions, because it stimulates appetite. It will elevate mood. You know, there's a lot of good uses for this stuff medically. But, well, it wasn't until later that I actually myself began to discover that it has tremendous medical benefits. You know, as you go back to in history, one of the first emperors of China who created, I believe, one of the first herbalist pharmaceutical tomes in China, which, by the way, this thing's thousands of years old. It's still being referenced. It was a good one, apparently. Well, one of the primary herbs that was in that tome was cannabis. Yep. They saw it as being useful for so many things. Well, when I looked at that, I said, well, they just didn't come up with anything better, you know. In other words, a plant has activity. Well, it turns out that that ancient Chinese person was right on. We've been so indoctrinated against this material. It's a really important and valuable herb. Now, so the question is, how did Bill discover delta-8 THC? I mean, it's out there, you know, but I probably wasn't particularly interested myself if it hadn't been for the fact that Ohio, which was early on in legalizing the manufacture and production of industrial hemp, Ohio kind of led the nation also in production of the extracts from industrial hemp. Well, I have a friend out there that I do business with that he likes tropical plants that has big greenhouses, and I have tropical plants, and so we were doing a thing, and well, one day he mentioned that, you know, I've got this delta-8 THC stuff that we're making over here. Him and some chemists were manufacturing it. And he said, would you, take some and trade for plants? I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So he sent me some of the stuff. And, well, I looked at it, and, it's thick as tar. It's kind of difficult stuff to use, visualize. I personally, for the medical benefits of cannabis, am not into vaping, which this stuff would be, suitable for. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this stuff. Well, coming along the line there, I decided that I was having some trouble sleeping. And I was aware of the fact that this stuff has less anxiety than delta-9 THC, and it will induce sleepiness. And I said, well, maybe I'll try using this stuff as a sleep aid. So what I did about it is that the stuff is really thick, but in this case here, I have combined it with extra virgin olive oil. Okay, that makes it thin enough that using a syringe, I can put it into these gelatin capsules, right? Yeah, well, after dinner, I just take one of those, and well, come 9, 10 o'clock, I'm usually pretty drowsy, and I'll go to sleep. It takes a while to come on because it's in oil, and that doesn't digest very easily. I have been told by people, add flour to the capsules, it'll make it work better. My belief is, eat a pizza afterwards. Yeah, in other words, if you take it with food, I believe the effect would be the same. I've tried adding flour to the capsules, and I find it kind of a messy situation. Don't like it. So here now I had found out that, yes, I could use this product as a sleep aid. I thought, all right, that's good. I like that. And since I'd have to smoke it or anything like that, it didn't seem to be causing any negative side effects that I could notice, other than if I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, oftentimes I'd be quite stoned. Okay, but by the morning it wears off. Well, somewhere along the line, as I've had a Grumpy Gardener video about delta-8 and blood pressure, I ran out of the blood pressure medication that the doc had been prescribing for me. And it's a mail order pharmacy. I knew the stuff was going to be here within a week. I said, I'm not going to die. I'm going to play around with this. Well, out of caution, I dragged out my blood pressure cuff and started measuring my blood pressure, make sure nothing went haywire here. Well, strangely enough, what I discovered is that when I ran out of the blood pressure medication, my blood pressure dropped rather than going up. Yeah, that took a little research, because most information about cannabinoids indicates that they will elevate blood pressure and raise your pulse rate. But if you dig deeper, you find out that people who use the stuff continuously, what happens is cannabinoids will expand the blood vessels. They open the blood vessels up, dilation. And so in my case, that is what was causing my high blood pressure. Way back to childhood, first Vietnam physical, okay, I had high blood pressure. I've had it all my life. And it's mostly because my veins and arteries, they just don't shrink and swell very well. Well, the Delta 8 solved that problem. And so I'm going, oh my goodness, you mean this? I can use this instead of high blood pressure medication? It helps me sleep. It brings my blood pressure down to a normal range. That's bizarre. It's never, even with pharmaceuticals, ever been in a normal range. The Delta 8 actually is the most effective blood pressure regulation material that I have discovered in this life yet. I found that quite amazing. I said, wow, there are medical values to this stuff. Big time. I mean, yeah, sleep, okay, yeah, hunger, yeah, mood elevation, blood pressure, wow, that's pretty special. That's very broad, too, what it's doing for us. So with that in mind, in the meantime, yes, people in Ohio had realized that they can actually get high on cannabis if they want to, even though it wasn't legal there because of the industrial Delta 8 THC. And Ohio did nothing about it, so they produce a lot of it over there, as I said. And, well, sometime back here now, Ohio legalized recreational cannabis. Well, you know what that did? Yeah, that pulled the rug right out from underneath the Delta 8 business. Whereas this stuff was going for $130 an ounce, Delta 8 can now be found out of the state of Ohio in places for $30 an ounce. Wow. Okay, now I'm telling you, in an ounce of this stuff, we're talking hundreds of doses, no matter how you're using it. Yeah, it's cheap. It's dirt cheap. Okay. And when I saw that it happened, that it had a $100 price drop, I went, oh my goodness. And so I ordered a stockpile of it since I had a medical use for it. And I said, man, it's not going to get any better at all. You know, to the pharmaceutical companies selling me bottles of pills for extreme high prices and so on that don't work. Well, I went ahead and I sent some to my son in Wisconsin, whereas Wisconsin, it's also legal. I believe 21 and over or something like this is about the only regulation they put on it. And, well, my son is not a cannabis user, all right? He's not opposed to it, so to speak, but he has no actual purpose for it, I guess. There's no reason. He doesn't have any medical issues that it would cover, I know. And his previous job, his employer with Walgreens, they drug tested him, so he would lose his job if he used this stuff, and he didn't. But he changed jobs recently, went with the University of Wisconsin clinic, and they don't care. They don't test. They see nothing wrong with this. All right. So I sent him a bottle of this stuff. I said, here, check this out. Well, he opened it up, I guess, and the little paper seal on top, you know, it had a bunch of it stuck to it. So he went ahead, peeled it off, said, gee, I wonder how, stuck it under his tongue. Well, he missed 2 days of work. He got higher than he ever expected anybody could ever get on cannabis products. Yeah. Well, I said, you son of you silly person. If you're not used to using something, beware. That's well. Anyhow, he's okay. It got me thinking, though. All right, because I know you can vape this stuff, and I don't want to. I know I can mix it with oil, olive oil, and take it that way. I've used oil to inject it into commercial gummies before and stuff too, but I've actually taken to using the gelatin capsules. Much neater, nicer, cheaper. But I said, all right, this is interesting. I got to try this too. I'm curious what had happened. So, not wanting this tarry stuff stuck to the backside of my teeth or gums, I decided, well, I'd fold it up in a bit of flavored cigarette paper, and then take it and put it in behind my lower teeth. Well, I tried this for a few days in a row. The stuff, when you do this, and if you put it into a little bit of thin paper like that, it lasts and lasts and lasts. It's sort of like some kind of fentanyl patch or something. I don't know. Like the patches they use for pain control. It's a very, very slow release. The stuff's hard. It's like tar. It does not come apart easily, and so it takes sometimes even more than 24 hours for that little bit to go away. And even when it does, it's probably because I just accidentally swallowed it drinking coffee or something. After a few days of experimenting with this, I believe it was about 72 hours into playing around with this technique of sucking on the stuff, because I realized right off, it did not do to me what it did to my son, especially not when it was wrapped in paper, and I didn't place it directly on top of the salivary glands either, and I could kind of sense something. That's about it. I didn't feel a whole lot. It's not real strong that way. It's just real slow trickle of release. Well, I got up out of bed in the middle of the night to head to the bathroom, jumped up on the floor, and got used to rattling my bones back in place, because everything gets out of place while I sleep, and if I start walking, it hurts. Well, I jumped up and I said, hey, I don't hurt. I don't hurt anywhere. Yeah, I mean, even oftentimes my ankle or toe or something, they'll twinge a little bit from some minor gout or something. Nothing. Well, went to the bathroom, went back to bed, got up in the morning, got out of bed. Wow, felt good. No pain. Okay, so I experimented then for 3 days with this stuff, playing around, trying to figure out, is this really what's happening? Because I have, it's a kind of a sciatica problem. It's the lower back, it's a sacrum. That's the bone that has the tailbone hooked to it. I dislocated it in a bicycle accident years ago. Well, it's been pretty good. I've had help with it. I've had chiropractic masseuse help me push it back in and things like this, where it wasn't as bad as it once was, but it doesn't stay in place. Has some damage that it just doesn't hold. It'll move. It creates a sciatica, then it'll rub up against a nerve bundle, and it makes my hip hurt. Wow. And my lower back. Well, that was happening to me before experimenting with this Delta 8. I was running. I ran out the back door. It was wet and slippery, and I had a pair of slippery Crocs on, and I lost it, and I went down and I landed on the hard ground on the hip that I damaged in the bicycle accident. And well, the pain in a small way, no, not full blown, came back. I was having problems. Gracie, you want to come in? Huh? Yeah? She says, I want in. Why are you doing the videos in there? All right, just a moment. Let me let the cat in here. Cat was hungry. Had to feed Gracie. Yeah, so then I stopped. Yeah, I wanted to know. Is this what's actually happening? Is sucking on this little bit of Delta 8 actually curing this what has been a chronic lower back pain half of my life now? Well, I stopped, and the pain started coming back again. A little bit, not as bad. So I tried again last night. I'm not in pain this morning. This is amazing because it's been constant, so constant. Well, I suspect that this is the anti-inflammation quality of the Delta 8 more so than a pain relieving quality. Now, it has some pain relief, but my experience with cannabinoids has been some strains of the plant are more pain relieving than others, but none of them are really all that good, especially if you're smoking, vaping, or in many cases, even if you're eating. You eat enough, you don't feel much, but you can't walk either. So that's not a solution here. This acts different. The release rate of using a tiny pouch of the material orally, again, it's another complete different thing. The difference between like where smoking is one way, and then when, of course, you eat, it converts in the liver, so it becomes much stronger, and so eating's a whole other dimension. It appears ingesting it this way is again something else. It operates different. It doesn't really get me high. It just kind of kills the pain. It's just not enough of it coming in at any one time, say, is what it is. Yeah, a bit more on pain relief with cannabinoids. Now, those of us who ever bothered to make canna butter, if you're squeezing it by hand, through cheesecloth or an old T-shirt or something, then you know that topical application of cannabinoids does control pain well and won't give you any kind of a high. When I squeeze out pot butter and I get the butter with the cannabinoids all over my hands, my hands get limber, pain comes out of the joints, they feel 30 years younger for about 2 or 3 hours. So there is a strong topical relief from cannabinoids. I don't know whether it would be strong enough if I tried to apply it to my lower back that way, how well it would work, I'm not sure. But anyway, back to the Delta 8. Now, this stuff, like I said, can be had. Ohio is a source. Watch out for your local legalities, because some states, as I listed, do have plant fascism yet. But okay, it's stiff. Yeah, this is not something that is easy to work with, frankly. All right, so the way I do this is I will take a knife, stick it in here, and begin to pull like that. You see, this stuff's like tar. You don't want to pull a mozzarella string out all across your table. It's going to make a big mess. So there we go. I pinned it off on the edge of the jar, wiped it off, and now I'm going to take it here and I will wipe off the tip of the knife inside this paper. There we go. There, just like that. Now these are watermelon flavored. They're nice Spanish made, supposed to be all natural papers, and so There should be no real harmful stuff in there. This is actually hemp paper even, so it's 100% hemp product here. So if you decide to use it in gelatin capsules, although I have not found that approach works well on pain, okay, but if you decide to do it that way, heating it in olive oil is the way to go. I'll usually try to dig some of that stuff out into another jar, maybe get about a teaspoon of the material in a jar the size of the one you just saw, and then I'll fill the rest of it with extra virgin olive oil, put it in the microwave, and go usually a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes is usually enough to get things hot enough. And then you're going to have to begin to stir, because the tar doesn't go into the olive oil very easily, but stirring and agitation will make it so that you can pick it up in a standard syringe and put it inside a gelatin capsule. Well, again here, now I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything illegal. If you have states run by plant fascists out there, I'm sorry. As for the rest of us, where this material is legal to use, I am finding it highly medical. There's been a real education for me ever since they went ahead and started to legalize the medical use for cannabis. I kind of thought it was a bit of a joke, frankly, to begin with. I have changed my mind completely. Like one of the first herbalists for pharmacy written in China, I'm beginning to find that this material is useful over such a wide spectrum of different ailments. And in the case of Delta 8, you try to beat something at $30 an ounce where there's probably hundreds and hundreds of doses like the one I just doled out inside a bottle like that. If anybody out there is buying painkillers, including even ibuprofen, aspirin, and Tylenol, you come up with something that cheap. I'm telling you, that's about as low down as it gets, and it's working. The Tylenol did not work. I can't take aspirin or ibuprofen anymore. I've overused it over the years for things. Riot lungworm, particularly, was where that happened. Okay. Aloha. Only request I have from the viewers, as if there are folks out there who can legally access this material, and if you have joint pain problems, I mean, back pain, that'd be a real match, but I think any kind of a joint pain problem, to try this and let me know, because I'm still a little bit on the fence as far as what's happened. My back pain was pretty bad. And I don't know, I mean, people do heal. Maybe we heal. I don't know. So yeah, give me some feedback. Somebody else try this. I'd like to compare notes, because I have not read or heard anything about this type of an application with Delta 8 THC as a direct application to joint pain. I've not heard about it yet. Yeah, it's cutting edge. Hang loose, folks. Aloha.